Shabbat Shalom. This is Larry Mitchell with Friends of Israel. We're continuing our verse-by-verse study through the Apocalypse of Jesus Christ, also known as the Book of the Revelation. Today we are going to be looking at Revelation 11, 1-3, which is part of the second woe of the Apocalypse. Revelation 11, 1-3. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot for 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. This begins with a command to measure the temple of God. Notice that here in Revelation, it is called God's temple. It will be God's temple that is rebuilt. Now, although it is going to be defiled by the Antichrist, midpoint of the tribulation period, it is still God's temple. Measure the altar. During the tribulation period, the sacrificial system will be reinstituted under the supervision of God's 2 witnesses. That's according to God's will. The sacrifices will take place at what is known as the brazen altar, and it will continue for 3.5 years until the Antichrist defiles the temple, erecting an image of himself in God's temple, causing the sacrificial system to cease. Daniel 9:27. And the Antichrist shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. Measure them that worship therein. In other words, the faithful remnant of Jews that will worship God in the 3rd temple. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. Most Orthodox Jews believe the Dome of the Rock, which is the Muslim mosque, is located where Solomon's and Herod's temple once stood. They believe the Dome of the Rock must be destroyed before the 3rd temple can be built. But there are some Orthodox Jews that believe that Solomon's temple was actually located at what is known as the cupola of the spirits, which is located just north of the Dome of the Rock. The cupola of the spirits lines up with the eastern gate. If this is the actual location of the Temple Mount, it would be possible to build the 3rd temple without removing the Dome of the Rock, which would be in the court of the Gentiles. This would seem to be confirmed from the statement that the Gentiles will have control of the court outside the temple. And the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. Jerusalem will be trampled down by the Gentiles for 3.5 years. This is the last half of the tribulation period. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. Almost every Bible teacher agrees that one of the witnesses will be Elijah, because of Malachi 4:5, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. And then Mark 9:11 and 12. And they asked him, saying, Why say the scribes that Elijah must come first? And he answered and told them, Elijah verily cometh first, and restoreth all things. And how it is written, that the Son of Man, that he must suffer many things, and be set at naught. So most people believe the first witness is Elijah, but there's much debate over the identity of the second witness. Now, it's not very often I disagree with Dr. J. Vernon McGee, but I will give you his thoughts on who the second witness is. Dr. J. Vernon McGee suggested that the second witness was John the Baptist. Here's his quote. I would like to make a suggestion about which I will not be dogmatic, nor will I argue. My suggestion is John the Baptist is the second witness. He was the forerunner of Christ at his first coming. He was similar to Elijah in manner and message. I am sure that these two fellows would get along with each other. Both knew what it was like to oppose the forces of darkness and to stand alone for God against impossible odds. They certainly had good training in the past. John the Baptist would be the witness of the New Testament, and Elijah would be the witness of the Old Testament. Now, there was a Bible teacher here in Calgary. His name was Len McDougall. He was a close friend of mine and a Bible scholar, and he and I had a difference on the identity of the second witness. He would argue that the second witness was Enoch. And so I'm going to give you the reasons why Len thought it would be Elijah and Enoch. Point number 1, it is appointed unto man once to die. Hebrews 9:27. As is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. And so it is appointed unto man once to die. But a word of caution. In context, this is applying to Jesus, because the next verse says, So Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many. Well, neither Elijah nor Enoch died. 2 Kings 2:11. And it came to pass as they went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by whirlwind into heaven. In Hebrews 11:5, by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased God. Another reason that was put forth for Enoch is Enoch preached about the coming of Jesus. Jude 1:14 and 15. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and all their hard speeches which the ungodly sinners have spoken against him. I personally believe it will be Moses and Elijah. And let me give you the reasons why I take this position. The miracles performed by the two witnesses are very similar to the miracles of Moses and Elijah. Revelation 11:6. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. That seems to be a reference to Elijah. 1 Kings 17:1. And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. In Revelation 11:6 said, "They have power over waters to turn them to blood and to smite the earth with plagues as often as they will." This seems to be a reference, a comparison to Moses. Exodus 4:9. "It shall come to pass, if they do not believe these two signs, neither hearken unto the voice, that thou shalt take of the water of the river, and pour upon dry land, and the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood upon dry land." And Exodus 3:20. "And I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all my wonders which I do in the midst thereof, and after that he will let you go." Both Moses and Elijah appeared at Jesus' transformation. Matthew 17:1-3. "And after 6 days Jesus taketh Peter and James and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him." And thirdly, Moses and Elijah, considered by Judaism to be the two greatest prophets of Israel, would be the most effective witness to the Jewish people. I believe they will probably instruct the 144,000 Jewish evangelists and help reinstitute the temple sacrifices and ceremonies. We'll look at the ministry of the two witnesses next week. Shabbat Shalom. This is Larry Mitchell.